Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode, the first episode of the offseason for the Eagles of Two Brothers, Same Mother. It's Sheik. Of course, we got AJ right there on the other side. Say what's up, AJ.
What up, what up?
And listen, I mean, some of you saw the game last night. I don't know how many of y'all watched the whole thing like me and AJ did. But I mean, if we gotta look at the positive, it's over, right? The season's over. That's a positive.
I'll tell you what, man. You and I have been talking about doing YouTube or podcast for years. Man, we certainly picked a hell of a year to do that, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Listen. I felt it was a perfect, and even though it was in 2021, that last game, to sum up 2020, the way stuff went down.
Oh my goodness. And real quick, the tank that happened last night. But let's be real. If anybody thinks that was Doug's call, you really don't watch a lot of Eagles or don't know a lot of Eagles football or listen to a lot of stuff, that articles and you know what I mean? Because that was definitely a front office move.
Well, see, and this is what kills me because I don't know if Doug fought it.
You don't have much of a choice, bro. Like, you're talking about a front office that picks his coaching staff for him. They fire his coaching staff. They hire his coaching staff. He don't have a say in shit. He's probably the least out of all 32 NFL head coaches. He's probably like the least that has to say.
Nah, I have to disagree with that. There's definitely coaches that have less say than Doug. I mean, Doug won a Super Bowl, so I can't see him having the least amount of say as opposed to someone. I mean, granted, he got fired, but Adam Gase that was in with the Jets or stuff like that.
But I have a question. Any of them coaches were made to look like dum-dums in their closing press conferences last 2 years? Past 2 years after that Super Bowl, he became a Super Bowl coach 2 years in a row, not counting this year, 18 to 19. He went out, this coach is coming back, blah, 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 and then was made to fall on the shield or the sword and look like a dipshit.
But
because the front office was like, no.
Doug needs to know what you're working with. You need to know what you're working with. Listen, all of us, any job you have to know what you're working with your managers. You don't, right after the game, talk about all this stuff that you're going to do, knowing that you have to have a meeting, you have to have an exit meeting with your boss and with the guy that you're supposed to be working with, who all of you are supposed to be working together.
He shouldn't have, before the exit meeting, he shouldn't have came out and said
that. And that's where that's like, especially last year with the Carson Walsh thing about, we're going to keep him, or I made a promise to that. Doug, and this is where I I think Doug needs some media coaching. And I mean this in the nicest way. Like, I don't dislike the guy. He needs to figure out how to not make himself look like a jackass. When you come out, you could say, hey, listen, we weren't trying to tank. But at the same time, we have had Nate Sudfeld on this roster for a few years. I mean, he was the backup when we won the Super Bowl, and yet he's had very little opportunity to play. And he's at the last year of his contract. We wanted to take a look at him in some real game action before he won. And that was more important to this team than us trying to keep Washington out of the playoffs. Not to mention, Hurts was playing horrible. It wasn't like there was that much of a drop-off. That's different than what Doug said, which was, of course, we were trying to win the game, and we felt Nate was going to give us the best chance to win, but I didn't bench Jalen Hurts. You can't say another – like, you putting your foot in your mouth with that stuff.
I mean, I think it's funny because you're like the 10th person that was just like, there wasn't much of a difference between the Eagles offense with Nate Sudfeld and Jalen Hurts. Really? Like, if Jalen Hurts finishes that game, I'm not saying he's great. He finishes that game, we probably win by 2 scores.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's what Doug Peterson said. I'm not saying I agree.
Oh.
Yeah, no. Listen, I'm definitely.
No, I've been seeing people being like, "Oh, I saw 3 quarters of bad quarterback play from Jalen Hurts, and blah blah blah. What? Like I get it. Statistically, he wasn't.
I want to transition to that because have we seen enough from Jalen Hurts as a quarterback to say that he deserves to be the starter next year? Not deserves to fight for it, but he should be our quarterback next year. And I bring this up because he did have a quarterback rating, and I'm talking total quarterback rating. So, of 25.4. That's actually lower than any time Carson Wentz has started. Yes, as a runner, as a playmaker, we saw he scored 2 touchdowns and he's dynamic. But as a quarterback, have we seen enough, or should he have to compete for that job?
If it was definite that Carson, which I personally think with Carson being a healthy scratch and the simple fact that Carson wasn't made by the Eagles to give a closing presser at the end of the year is pretty telling that Eagles can say what they want. In my opinion, I don't see Carson coming back. Just because of those 2 factors.
Real quick, just on that note, because I want to mention about Doug Peterson. This is where I get annoyed with Doug too, where he comes and says, I'm looking forward to working with Carson in the offseason and getting his career back on track, and he's going to be my quarterback next year. Why are you going above and beyond? All 3 of those things are probably false. You don't need to say that. You could be nice, but you don't need to say that. You understand?
But Howie Roseman literally came out and said, we traded up to get Carson. We paid him the contract that we paid him. Carson Wentz is like me losing one of my fingers. I couldn't imagine not having him on this team.
And Howie's an idiot too. Like, for an organization that got rid of Chip Kelly because of emotional intelligence, this team is really lacking emotional intelligence right now.
That's totally different. Chip Kelly was just an obnoxious idiot that tried. That's enough.
Well, I'm not saying Chip Kelly and Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman are the same. What I'm saying, though, emotional intelligence is being intelligent about what you're saying and how it affects emotions with your team. And they seem to be deaf on that. They're not total assholes.
Right. Yeah, like at first, like you and I text, and I felt that Jalen Hurts looks like he's a player that you can build around. Saw 4 games, saw him look really well passing, saw him look really bad passing. I don't think he looked as horrible as what the numbers showed last night. He had a lot of pressure in his face. That Washington defensive line is savage.
They had.
It wasn't like
Kerrigan played last night. He was out, right?
Who?
Ryan Kerrigan for the Redskins, or excuse me, for Washington.
Yeah, he hasn't played in a while. He's like,
right.
He doesn't
beyond that, they had their whole starting D line, and we had our 4th-string offensive tackle.
Right, and that's what on each end. With Toth and Pryor, and prior to that, no pun intended, was playing. He's played whatever he filled in. He played either right guard or right tackle. He really never played left side. So.
Right.
But so those are the factors. But like prime example, like there was a couple drops, like that one where he rolled out the one way and then turned around and threw it to Quez, where if he catches it and hits that seam, Quez is gone. I think Quez had like 2 drops. There was another drop. I forget who dropped it. Then there was like one thing I'll say about Jalen Hurts. It looks like he doesn't try to. He is the one that looks like he takes what the defense gives him. If they allow him to run, he'll take the run. If there's nothing downfield or whatever, run. Because people are like, oh, when they want to pigeonhole everybody and put them all in the same category. He's not, and this isn't a knock on Lamar, but it's like when Lamar first came in and took over for Flacco, it was one read, not there, run. One read, not there, run. Where it's obvious Jalen Hurts has 2 or 3 reads to go, and then he takes off. If Carson is not here, which I think you can build around him. I really think if you get a solid offensive line around him, which people keep screaming that we need an offensive line. No, we do not. Do we need depth at that position? Yes.
I mean, really, the only thing with the O-line that you need, you got to hope Kelsey don't retire and come back for 1 more year. But you need to figure out who's going to be your future starting center, and you need a backup guard because a setup of Lane Johnson Brandon Brooks. If Kelsey is playing, Kelsey, Sayamalu, and then either Mayalata or Dillard, yes. I was about to say Andre Wadsworth for some odd reason. That's not right. But and then so you have 3 tackles for 2 starting jobs, not to mention our tackle that we drafted and Driscoll, Jake Driscoll, shows that he can start too. I think you're good at tackle,
Right. And then worst case scenario, if you go down both of those levels, then you got Matt Pryor, who's played. I mean, he's not good. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is
your 5th tackle. He's great.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to tell people. Even if Kelsey retires, which is a big thing, Sayamalu came in as a center originally, so he can play that. And if Kelsey decides to retire, I think in the offseason, then you got him, and then you can move in that kid Herbrick, who you can also say. So it's not, like I said, we don't need to waste our top 4 or 5 picks on an offensive lineman. Unless it's just later in the round, because we don't have a 4th round pick. But I think we have 3 5th rounders, 2 or 3 5th rounders. So if you see a 5th rounder, 2 5th rounders, 3 6th rounders. So if you see a 5th rounder that may be a 3rd or 4th or a 4th round grade, then I wouldn't mind them snatcher. But I don't think with their first 3 picks or even 4 picks, they need to draft an offensive lineman.
People have come out for the Giants, both at the end of last year and last night, talking about how them fighting hard last year and winning their final game, even though they missed out on Chase Young, helped set a tone for, as players, for how they were going to try to come in this year, even though they had a new coach. Mm-hmm. Is that, do you think, legit, or is that just a bunch of malarkey? Do you think that this is going to affect or have any carryover next year in attitude?
I don't think so. First of all, the Giants bitching and complaining, win more games.
Oh, no. I've heard – I'm close to this. I just need to give credit to a lot of Giants fans that I know. I lived in New York for several years. They ain't mad at us. I mean, they're mad – when they're mad at the Eagles, they're mad at the fact that a Sunday night football game, they watched somebody essentially tank. That they're more pissed off that Evan Ingram dropped that pass that would have clinched it against us for their first game. Because if they beat
I'm
us,
just saying the Giants in general. The Giants in general, just like you just said, the Giants said, if they didn't tank, blah, blah, blah. Listen, first of all, did I want us to lose the game last night? Yes.
But you wanted maybe not last watching.
But I didn't want us to lose like that. Let me get that clear. I felt like I needed, as an Eagles fan, I felt like I needed a shower after that.
Yes.
Be more discreet about it. You know what I mean? Be more discreet about it. You feel me?
For national media, not to say that we take a lot to national media, but it was interesting to see national media get that upset about it. And it had nothing to do with the Giants. It was just, you teams do that when they're about to go into the playoffs. What you doing?
That was kind of a black eye on the NFL.
So I think we could say that the offense that Doug Peterson wants to run is not a match for what Carson Wentz does best.
Mm-hmm.
I heard someone say that they do not think that this offense is a match for Jalen Hurts either. Would you agree with that?
No, because Jalen, look, once again, they won game where Jalen came out and I know that I think the worst first quarter technically that they had, not talking statistically, I'm talking just how they moved was the Arizona game. And then when they fell down 16-0 or 19-0, something like that, and then they came roaring back. There was more consistency with the offense that I saw with Jalen than with Wentz, but it wasn't because Jalen's a better quarterback. It was just because Jalen brought that being able to run element to where Wentz kind of lumbers now.
Well, and I mean, I personally have to agree with you on that. I think I think if you get a little bit more talent, which we will with people healing up, let alone who else we bring in here, the offense is going to look better. But I don't think, no matter what talent you have in here, I don't think this offense is suited for Wentz. Whereas Hurts, I think, could work in it.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. And you asked me earlier about the OC and DC thing. And I told you we said we would talk about it on the show. I think if Wentz comes back, I think you offer McCown either a quarterback coach or offensive coordinator position.
I was going to transition to that. Who do you think are the best candidates for offensive coordinator and defensive?
If you're going to have Hurts, if you trade Hurts, it's kind of like if you trade Hurts, trade Hurts, Jesus. If you trade Wentz, and go with Hurts, I think you make Deuce the offensive coordinator, and allow him to call the plays. I think you. But if Wentz does come back and you bring him back, I think you bring McCown in as some type of, if you want to promote Press Taylor to the offensive coordinator, which I don't know. I'm not going to sit there and say he can't. I don't know. But if you want to say have Press Taylor, and then you bring in Cade McCown to come in.
Josh McCown.
Cade
McCown is who went after Donovan McNabb to the Bears.
Yeah. No, Tim Couch went after to the Bears. I'm thinking Jesus Christ, AJ.
I don't know why I remember this. It was Couch, McNabb, Achilles Smith. Cade McCown went 5th to the Bears. I don't know who went for it.
Didn't McCown go to like BYU or something?
UCLA.
Yep. But anyway, so yeah. So
don't know what my keys are, but remember that. Go figure.
Right. You talk about arguing, remember it? Oh, never mind. That's a whole nother story.
You got time for that one.
Yeah. But I think you bring McCown back as like at least a quarterback's coach, or vice versa. Keep Press Taylor as a quarterback's coach, because it seemed like Wentz really responded, and you didn't realize the impact until that Amazon Prime documentary came out of that 2019 season, and you just saw the impact that McCown had on Wentz, man, and it was definitely dynamic because he completely changed. Wentz actually changed his game, and he was as hard-headed as they say Wentz is, and how he doesn't agree with authority. It seemed like McCown was, and that's what you look for, somebody that vibes with somebody to get the best out of them, and that's why I think you should bring him in.
I like McCown as a quarterback coach. I don't know if he's ready for offensive coordinator just yet.
Right, that's what I said. Like, if you promote Press to the OC and then have McCown as the quarterback coach, I think you can look good there.
Promote Press Taylor to the EXIT, man. You did nothing but hunt with him.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying because they're not going to. Or because what I thought was funny before was all these years, Deuce Staley has been the run game coordinator. But last night when they did the highlight of Jeff Stoutman, who I felt this year with all those offensive line changes, man, did a fantastic job for what he was given. But they had him under, he was a run game coordinator. So I don't know. So if you want to promote Deuce and then bring in McCown to be the, I'll be cool with that with Wentz too as well.
I would throw one more name at you because he got promoted, so to speak, on a temporary basis to be offensive coordinator this year.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if we'll keep him there. He's been a quarterback's coach here before. I think he's been an OC before. If he became available, what's your thoughts on Bill Lazor?
I heard about Bill Lazor. See, the thing is I think with an offensive coordinator, I wouldn't mind Bill Lazor because he was the quarterback's coach for Foles with that whole 27-2 season. So I wouldn't object to that. It's just my thing is that I don't know if because the Eagles need an OC and a DC, and with their salary cap situation, I don't see them reaching out on
their salaries don't go against the cap.
I read an article saying something that because of where the Eagles are salary wise.
No, coaching salaries don't go against the cap. That's just something changed within the past year.
I don't know. Maybe the person who wrote it didn't know what they were talking about. But
I've been victim.
That's a possibility. Yeah. So, but either way, I just don't see. with there being so many changes this past off season with the offensive play calling and stuff like that, like people don't realize there was like so many different play callers in there, and I think that threw a lot of the timing off that which were new. I I don't see them really hiring outside, but I wouldn't be objective to Bill Lazor. No, I would not. I just
And
don't see it happening.
real quickly, your thoughts for defensive coordinator?
I think Matt Burke is his name is probably the guy that'll probably take over as a defensive coordinator. He's currently our defensive line coach. Our defensive line played good. There's also Marquand Manuel, who's our defensive back coach, but we see how our defensive backfield looks.
Who
But
would be
there's
your
one
choice,
name,
though?
huh?
Oh, go ahead. I mean, you probably were going to get to that. I was going to say who would be your choice, but it sounds like you were going to get to that. My bad.
Yeah, here's one that may surprise everybody. And I would either there's one or two people. I
Give
would
me
either
one. I'll give you
choose.
two.
Yeah, yeah. I would choose either Matt Burke just because of how good the defensive line good looked, no matter who was injured. There was always pressure. Um, but there's a name out there that's kind of linked to the Eagles. His name is John Fox. Him and Doug Peterson share the same agent.
See, there's two people. I was thinking former head coach. What's your thoughts? He did run the Legion of Boom, Dan Quinn.
Maybe. I was thinking Dan Quinn, too. But the only reason I said John Fox is because of his ties with Doug,
Sure.
as far as like having the same agent and stuff.
And I just always had a soft spot for this guy. I think that if he came in, it would definitely help the defensive backfield. Raheem Morris. I felt he was really good as a coordinator. I don't think he's a great head coach.
Right.
I think he could develop to be a great head coach, but I think he's a hell of a defensive coordinator.
Now, this may sound funny because he was horrible as a head coach, but what about Adam Gase as an OC?
I think he's a great offensive mind. I mean, he got a lot out of Jay Cutler, But I don't think he'd be a good fit here, man. Like, it's just
okay.
You got too many egos.
Yeah.
I think he worked in Chicago under, I believe it was John Fox, because Fox is so laid back. Where, listen, I don't see this organization being the type of organization that can handle a guy who literally makes a phone call to make sure his wife gave birth to his kid because he's studying film. That don't seem like this type of organization.
They need that, though.
They need that out of our training camps. I don't know if they need that out of their offensive coordinator with Doug Peterson as head coach. I just don't think it would work.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, here's the thing, man. One of the biggest things the Eagles need to do is the simple fact of they need to they have to sit down and talk about, because I think they have their meeting Wednesday, or is it tomorrow or Wednesday?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
All right, but it's either tomorrow or Wednesday. But in that meeting, it has to be. They have to tell Doug, you got to relinquish your play calling. You can help out input, but you have to have a somebody that calls the plays, because we need you to oversee the whole game.
So I was going to do some word association, but we can do that next week because I want to get to our questions. Okay.
Okay.
So, and I think these are going to be kind of fun. Best NFL prospect you ever saw that you just, I can't wait to see what this guy does in the NFL that stunk.
This one, I just couldn't have just one. They are definitely 1A, 1B. And that was Lawrence Phillips and Jamarcus Russell.
Here's the other thing. Lawrence Phillips, I agree with, because, even as a kid, I would hear about all this stuff. Lawrence Phillips, I was 10, 11 years old when he came out.
He came out of Nebraska.
Yeah, but then he had such a great first season with the Rams. Listen, you get Dick Vermeil to give up on you, bro. You're bad. But Jamarcus Russell, I knew was going to be a bust. Like I just.
Did you really?
Yeah, he was lazy at LSU. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was just a lazy dude. For me,
Well, he had a big arm and all that stuff though too. He had a cannon.
so this is my all-time worst fail. We've talked about it several times privately. I swore up and down Donovan McNabb 2.0 was going to be Taj Boyd.
You know what? I thought about Taj. I thought, but I was just like, man, I need to. Yeah, I need to go. Taj Boyd was just bad. He was, but yeah, Lawrence Phillips and Jamarcus Russell were dumpster fires.
Yeah, I mean, to put it in perspective about Taj Boyd,
Yeah,
everybody on that
like
team,
dumb.
I mean, everybody on that team was great. I mean, he had, DeAndre Hopkins. He had, everybody on that team ended up getting drafted.
Sammy Watkins. C.J. Spiller.
Yeah, well, no, C.J. Spiller wasn't on that squad.
He wasn't?
He was a Clemson, but he wasn't with the same time as Boyd. He was before Boyd.
Oh, I thought he was the same time as Boyd.
But they had Andre Ellington, and they had a bunch of different people. I'll give you another one, too, and he just couldn't get out of his own way. Justin Blackmon that went to Jaguars. I thought he was going to be an excellent receiver.
Oh, man, yes.
You know?
Yeah.
What stadium you want to visit?
Lambeau.
You know, here's the interesting thing. I'm between Lambeau, and I would love to go and tailgate in Kansas City.
You know where I would like to tailgate? For real, is Buffalo.
I would listen.
People that have tailgated there that I work with, they say it is when the Eagles played the Bills last year. They say it's been they set each other on fire and put each other through tables and shit. Like
me and you were dressing up like Devon and Bubba Ray.
Straight up. Like,
my boy's a huge Bill.
Oh.
So now you could only name one. This is the one I'm saying. You can only name one because obviously there's a few that we all feel this way about.
Yeah.
But the one player you are most excited to see grow that's on the Eagles right now.
Only because I think that they're going to end up having him as the future's Jalen Hurts. As good as far as your quarterback grows, that's how your team's going to go. So
I figured, I was going off the beaten path. But if you had to name two, I'm sure this would be your second person. Kayvon Wallace, man. I hope he develops.
He actually looked not really. He looked decent last night, man.
Yeah. And I hope he becomes, a Pro Bowl safety, man. I'm really rooting for
him. Yeah, absolutely.
Name the team you're rooting for the most in the playoffs.
I have two. I can't have one.
That's okay.
It's the Bills and the Browns, man. Come on. How could you not root for either one of these teams?
Here's the thing. I hope the Browns beat the Steelers. I hope the Bills make it to the Super Bowl. But now that it's all said and done, I really hope Washington upset the Bucs. I know they're in our division, but between Alex Smith and Ron Rivera and the fact that I can't stand Antonio Brown and I'm not a fan of Tom Brady, I'd really enjoy to see Washington whoop that ass.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see them go beyond that, but I would really enjoy Washington whooping on them.
I just don't see it, man.
I don't either.
Listen, with our makeshift defense last night and them struggling, like it was like we put Seinfeld in and we still almost win the game.
And then final one, this is something fun because I found out something interesting that goes along with this. The weirdest tattoo that you've ever seen an athlete have.
Mike Tyson.
The face tattoo?
Yeah.
Did he ever give a reason behind that?
No, he just did it.
So I got to set this one up. So in the early 90s, I understand you were a preteen and a teenager, right? But you're familiar with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, obviously. Who isn't? There was a bunch of spin-offs. Are you familiar with a show called The Cowboys of Moo Mesa?
No.
Nobody really is. It's only 26 episodes. Okay? There was a cow. It was cows that were cowboys. Okay? And there was a cow named Dakota the Dude. Why do I bring him up? That's who Dak Prescott is named after. His mom named him after a cow that looks like a human from a cartoon show named Dakota the Dude, and Dak Prescott on his thumb and shoulder actually has a huge tattoo of this cow. I'm not making any of this up. You can look it up. It is the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. You just
the Kenyan market.
I now feel dumber than I knew that.
That's good. That's what we do here. We make sure your IQ points go down a bit. But
they didn't have far to go anyway. Shit.
Playoff game. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna
real quick, before we get to the playoffs. And I know we're gonna have our draft stuff, and we're gonna be doing that in the next couple of weeks. There's a name that popped up. Now I had him in my top 15, but I've seen him pop up. I looked probably at a dozen mock drafts today, and there's this guy. Once again, I had him. He was probably like between 13 to 15 as far as like rank in players. Was a J.C. Horn, a corner from South Carolina, and I've seen like him on the Eagles taking him at 6 on like 4, I think 4 what's it called, in mock drafts, and I was just like, I don't know, I just don't, and it scares me because that's the type of shit that they'll grab. They'll be 6, but they'll draft a guy that's like, you know what I mean? They'll draft him over, Caleb Farley or Patrick Surtain. Like, I just. Yeah.
First off, South Carolina is not that good. Their coach, Muschamp is an offensive coach.
Right.
Like.
Now, I will say this real quick. He is the 3rd-ranked defensive back in this draft.
And I think he's ranked high. Like, I think that he's a mid-second round pick, in my opinion.
Wow.
To me, there's too much talent in the top end of this to be going after someone like that. My fear, and I've read a few things. I don't think they will, but my fear is that they decide that we're a quarterback factory, and let's draft Zach Wilson from BYU, because
I don't think Zach Wilson's going to make it to us.
I'm not. You know what? You might be right. I mean,
I think he goes to Atlanta.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Lawrence 1, depending on, as long as he doesn't, totally crap the bed in the national championship game, Fields it 2 to the Jets. And then to see, Wilson go 4. Although the kid from North Dakota State, that's not Carson Wentz, is high up there as well. I mean, but Wilson, I watched a lot of BYU. If you remember, we were doing the gambling segment. I mean, I used to watch BYU every week. That kid's the real deal. But yeah, we won't get into a whole lot of draft stuff as we go on. We'll get into some free agent stuff too, even though there's not a whole lot of free agents. We're going to do playoff picks, so this is wiping the slate clean. We're not going to. Yeah, we'll keep track of just the playoffs. I'm going to ask you. Obviously, we got 6 games coming up this week for the first time ever for the first weekend, and then I'm going to ask you 2 more questions after that.
All right.
So Colts at Bills.
This is gonna be a fun game. Like, I think it's gonna be a fun game, man. It's just
the Bills are actually letting some fans in the stadium, and they're actually, from what I understand, going to let them tailgate a little bit.
I'm gonna go Buffalo, but I think it's gonna be a barn burner, man. I think it's gonna be a 38-35 type deal.
I think Buffalo scores 38, but I think the Colts are going to end up with like 24. I think Buffalo is going to go off. We'll stay in the AFC for the next 2. Browns versus Steelers.
I think Cleveland's going to win. And I think this is the last hurrah for Ben.
I think the Browns are better than what their record states, and I think the Steelers are a lot worse than what their record states.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say, basically.
Yeah. I think the Browns win. I think it's going to be a huge win. Although I do think Ben comes back for 1 more year.
Okay.
Ravens at Titans, which I think is probably going to be the game of the weekend.
This is the old school, my type of football. I hate to say this, man. I think Baltimore's going to win.
Well, Baltimore had over 400 yards rushing against the Bengals, and Derrick Henry had over 2,000 yards rushing for the year. I think only the fifth back to have that. It's the fourth or fifth best running back season ever.
I think he's eighth. He's the eighth running back to hit 2,000, but it's like the fourth or fifth as far as yards after that.
I think Tennessee wins, and here's why.
I hope Tennessee wins.
I mean that I think it's Tennessee wins. I don't think it's Baltimore loses the game. I just think it's one of those things where you're going to see a bunch of big runs. I think the Ravens defense could be great, but they're kind of worn down a bit, and the Titans defense was never great this year. So I think you're going to see the rare lot of running yet high-scoring game. And I think Tennessee wins. Baltimore does have the revenge factor. So
revenge factor. They're actually playing pretty well right now. They're kind of hitting a stride. They've won 4 straight. So
now to the NFC, where Bears and Saints. Before they played the Packers, I thought this might be a better game if this is what it was going to be. The Bears' offense kind of went away. I don't see them being within 10 points of the Saints. What's your thoughts?
I agree with you, but I think a lot of people aren't giving the Packers defense enough credit. The Packers have actually a legit defense.
Do.
So I think they did a really good job just to kind of prove a point because everything's about Aaron Rodgers and that offense. But yeah, I agree with you.
And the Saints have the number one defense, so
yeah, I don't think this is going to be a competitive game. To be honest with you.
Rams at Seahawks.
Listen, didn't they play last year too in the playoffs?
Rams and Seahawks?
Or was it the year before?
No, I don't think they played in the playoffs in a while because the Rams.
It was the play-in game. It was a play-in game last year.
Yeah.
Last week of the season. That's what threw me off. Okay.
No,
that's how we ended up.
The Rams were. Yes, you're right. I'm thinking 2 years ago the Rams went to the Super Bowl. Continue. My bad.
Oh, sorry. But I think it's going to be kind of like that. Remember that game was back and forth. I think it even went to overtime. Division game in the playoffs, that's always, you know what I'm saying? So I'm still going to go with Seattle because, excuse me, I don't know if Jared Goff is fully healed. So I'll go with Seattle.
If Jared Goff plays, I think the Rams win. Jared Goff doesn't, then it's going to be a blowout on Seattle side. And then Bucks against Washington. I mentioned I want Washington to win this game, but much like the Bears Saints, I don't see Washington being within 10 points of the Bucks.
Me either. And I think it'll be close in the first half. No. Yeah, even without Mike Evans. I think it's going to be close in the first half. But I just think that defensive line is going to wear down, and then midway third quarter, the Bucks are going to start to pull away.
Okay, so like I said, I have 2 more questions for you. One, because you started to watch college football a little more now that you've had a little bit more opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Who you got in the national championship?
I'm going Bama, man.
I think Bama's going boat racing. Well, no, I take that back. I think Bama is going to win, but I think Bama wins by like 11, 10 points, but it's not even going to be that close. I just think that defense is way too good. And that offense, I mean, the best college offense we ever saw was LSU last year with Joe Burrow, and this offense has those kind of numbers, if not.
I don't put them as the best college football offense I've ever seen.
Who, LSU?
Yeah. I would take that Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush USC offense over that offense, this LSU offense.
For nostalgic purposes, I'd agree, but LSU offense was really legit, man.
It was. I'm not saying it wasn't legit, but
it would be tight. It would be tight. That's an interesting thing because we've seen some dynamic offenses in college football, and we've way more than we have in the NFL. And that Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, God, those US.
Mike Williams, all them dudes, yo, that was that team.
Here's the thing, though.
Big boy, White, the running back White, the big boy. Oh, you talking about Thunder and Power? I mean, Thunder and Lightning.
Thunder and Power. I'm about to say Lorenzo,
Thunder and Lightning.
but it was something. It was no. But he played for the Titans too. I know.
But yeah, it was a Jaleel White or something like that, or something. Yeah.
Jaleel White was Urkel.
I know it was something. I knew it was. Yeah, it was something. But his name was White.
Definitely wasn't Urkel in the backfield.
No. But them two, they was a good 1-2 punch.
Lindell White.
See, yeah. Lindell White and Reggie Bush. They were a good 1-2 punch, man.
You know what it is, though? I think USC, their defense helped their offense out. Not saying the offense needed it, but their defense was
that was a complete team, though. That was a complete team.
Squad. That was one of the best college football teams I ever saw. I know Florida went back-to-back, but that USC squad.
And VY pretty much single-handedly beat them, but still.
Man. But
that was still a team, man.
And who do you think is going to be in the Super Bowl?
My brain is telling me Kansas City versus Green Bay. But my heart is telling me Buffalo is going to upset Kansas City, and it's going to be Buffalo Green Bay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Kansas City and New Orleans. There's no Minnesota to stop New Orleans this year. And I don't know, something about Green Bay, I just don't feel like – I feel like they're going to get tripped up. They haven't really – Tampa Bay tripped them up earlier in the year in Tampa Bay, but I don't think it's going to be Tampa Bay. I think New Orleans is going to trip them up.
Could you imagine Cleveland and Washington?
That's almost as bad as baseball a few years ago, where they had the Indians and the Cubs, the teams that had the two longest streaks of not winning a World Series.
Bro, that'd be some Tecmo Bowl shit right there. All right, so real quick, I want to ask you a question, like a legit question.
Okay.
All right, so 2 questions. Do you think Carson Wentz is on his roster next year?
I think he's on the roster when we open training camp. I don't think he's on the roster by week 1. I think you're going to see a borderline Sam Bradford type situation.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Go opening day.
Opening day. I don't see Carson Wentz on this team.
So I want to give you some options here, right? So Phillip Rivers, Indianapolis, said he's retiring. San Fran, it's leaked out that San Fran is going to try to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. New England, it's leaked out that they're getting ready. They're going to move on from Cam Newton. And Drew Brees has actually come out and said that this is his last hurrah. Which one of those 4 teams do you see Carson on?
I'll do one better for you. I'll do the quarterback carousel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think what ends up happening is that Indy wants Carson, but Indy's front office is not going to be willing to work with that contract.
Mm-hmm.
I think San Fran ends up with Carson, and the way they do it is trying to figure out how to get Jimmy G back to New England.
I could see that.
And I think that what's going to end up happening is that San Fran ends up with Carson, Jimmy G ends up in New England. I think that the Saints are actually going to either go with
Taysom Hill.
Either going to go with Taysom Hill, or what the Saints are going to do if they end up winning the Super Bowl this year is like I said, there's 5, 6. This is a draft that's about 7 quarterbacks deep that could possibly play in this league. I think the Saints somehow mess around and end up with Kyle Trask from Florida. And they're going to end up with that, And I think the Colts talk Phillip Rivers into staying for one more year.
I think,
or the Colts end up with Mitch Trubisky or Sam Darnold.
I think Carson ends up in one or two places. It's either Indy or New Orleans. Even though I personally don't think Carson is even on our team during training camp, but I definitely don't think he's going to be here opening day. And as much as I am a Carson Wentz fan and I want to see him succeed, I want to see him succeed in the AFC.
The one wild card we talked about too, which I don't think would happen, is that he could end up in Vegas.
And you know what? Because there is rumors. I read a couple articles that Mike Mayock and Gruden aren't happy with Carr, and they were willing to restructure and do a trade or something. And we may see something weird that we see in the NBA all the time, but we don't see too much in the NFL. And that's one of those like 3-team type deal. You know what I'm saying? Carr ends up in New Orleans and Wentz ends up in Vegas, and we end up with, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'll tell you a team that obviously I don't see it just because of finances. Taking my Eagles fandom out of it, that I think would be fun to see him at if they moved on from Kirk Cousins. Because you imagine him on that Viking squad. Like it's near his hometown. He has a different type of supporting base. Like,
bro,
that.
It's not as big as media covered as. It's not such a big market like Philadelphia.
I mean, their version of trolling fans was having taxis drop you off 3 blocks from your destination. Like, that's their version of being mean.
Yeah, standing on the Rocky steps going skull and throwing a Minnesota Vikings thing around Rocky.
That's our show. We'll talk to you next week after, we see what goes on with the playoffs. The playoffs should be kind of fun.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Honestly, I'm excited.
This is the highest Eagles drafting position without trading up since we got Lane Johnson. Granted, we traded up for Carson Wentz.
2013.
It's been a while. And that's a testament to, this organization. But let's hope that they right the ship as quick as possible.
Hey, real quick, before the end of our show. Real quick. Sorry. Don't edit this out. So, I just want to set the record straight real quick. People have been texting me, commenting on my social media. Listen, I know we got the 6th pick. I have a strong feeling. Strong feeling that so there's hope, Eagles Nation. There's hope. I have a strong feeling deep in the pit of my heart that Howie Roseman will not be making the picks this year. I believe John Dorsey will be making the picks this year. I just have it in my heart. I think what's going to have his input, but I really would. You're not going to bring in somebody like John Dorsey to help with your scouting team. I just find it that he had been with us since the beginning of the season, and then when the seat got hot for Howie, then all of a sudden his name came out like, oh, he's been a part of our organization, assisting with our scouting department. I think they're going to go with him overseeing the scouting department and being draft, and Howie being doing the contract negotiations, which I still don't think Howie should be there, but at least there's maybe some light at the end of the tunnel there. I don't know.
Well, I mean, according to Howie, he's had way more hits than misses, and
right.
They won a Super Bowl, So, if he trades the 6th pick and Zach Ertz and 2 2s and 2 3s to get to the Jets, to get the Jets' number 2 pick and Justin Fields, because we're a quarterback factory, we just need to take that.
Yeah. Right.
By the way, I'm putting that out in the atmosphere, hoping that because it's so ridiculous, there's no chance of that happening.
Right.
Then again, we said last year there was no chance of them drafting a quarterback in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
I will say this: if they do draft a quarterback with this 1st pick, I have to question my fandom at that point. I'm not going to relinquish it, but I might have to put it on pause. We might have to take a break from this relationship.
Yeah. It's not, it's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's me.
It's remember a few years ago with the Sixers were doing the trust the process, tanking. They only won 10 games. There was people that literally replaced every game with so game number one, instead of being that game, they watched the game from the 2001 playoffs. I might do that next year. So that Sunday, I'd watch week one from Eagles
2017. Yeah, that might be.
All right, man. Listen, Happy New Year, everybody. Glad that you're here. Glad that you're watching. Glad that you're safe. Let's keep it that way. 2021 is going to be way better. I'm just going to put it out there. Don't ask me how it is. I don't know. That's part of living life. Any parting words?
Yeah, just have hope, and hopefully they won't boggle this draft. And excited, and y'all motherfuckers need to start watching this shit more often. And stop texting me about what I think and just watch the damn show. Seriously.
I got nothing else. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, shit. Watch this motherfucker. Stop texting me.